Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar. I'm Daita Sergi, Education Programs Manager with AASHE, and I'll be the moderator today. It is my pleasure to welcome you all. As many of you know, AASHE's mission is to inspire and catalyze higher education to lead the global sustainability transformation. We are an international association with about 1,000 members spread across more than 20 countries, including Australia and South Africa. And just a second, my screen is playing tricks on me. Let's get here again. So we are the professional home for campus sustainability staff, but we offer resources for everyone in higher education. We provide an expansive collection of online resources, networking tools, and educational events, such as today's webinar, as well as an annual conference and expo. Just a few housekeeping notes before we get started. Everyone in the audience is on mute, but please feel free to ask questions or provide comments at any point during the presentation. You can do that by typing your questions or comments in the questions pane in the control panel on your screen. If you have additional questions, please email them to AASHE@education@aashe.org and we will get back to you. At the end of the webinar, you'll have the opportunity to provide feedback regarding today's presentation. We take your suggestions into account when planning for future webinars, so please do provide this feedback. Please note this webinar is being recorded. If you experience technical difficulties or have to leave early, you and others can view the recording later. However, please note that the recording and presentation materials are available to the AASHE members only, and they will be posted in the Campus Sustainability Hub after the live broadcast. At this time, I'd like to introduce today's webinar presenter. Christine has been with Stanford University's Residential and Dining Enterprises as the Manager of Sustainability and Utilities Program for the last 7 years. It is my pleasure to welcome all attendees and thank you for joining us today. At this time, I'm going to turn things over to Christine to get us started.
All right. Hopefully you guys can all see my screen. I am very excited to be here today to talk to you about how Stanford has transformed the way we clean. Stanford is a very proud AASHE member and AASHE Platinum institution, and this cleaning program that I'm going to talk to you about, we actually use and contribute to our score to help us get there. So that's one connection. So where do I sit in the university? So for those of you who don't know, Stanford is actually a largely residential campus. We're one of the largest, while we may not have the largest student population, we have one of the largest amounts of residents that actually live on our campus. We house 15,000 students on our core campus and 319 buildings that are just housing dining, catering, cafe type facilities. So this is the area I work. We're about a third of the campus, the 319 buildings. I oversee 525 lease spaces. We have 8 major dining halls that serve around 3.5 million meals annually. So this is where we are primarily implementing this, this new cleaning program I'm going to tell you about. So at a very high level, Stanford has many sustainability goals. You know, we're trying to be 100% renewable electricity by 2021, carbon free by 2025, zero waste campus by 2030, which actually these cleaning goals actually support. And then most specifically to this, you'll see down there on the lower right, we plan to be 100% ozone-based cleaning by 2025 across our system. And so that's the goal that I'm going to be talking about how we're meeting today. So what is ozone cleaning? So what you see on the screen here is completely my kind of viewpoint on this and my definition, I would say. So I see kind of, this is the spectrum of cleaning product on the market. So on one end, you have traditional cleaning chemicals, which hopefully you guys can all imagine those because I don't want to mention any. And then in the middle, I see green cleaning, which is, again, I don't want to mention any products, but you can probably imagine the things you think about when you go to the store, or things you may be using commercially that call themselves green cleaners. And then on the far right, I see ozone cleaning, and that's what we're doing, which I see is the true heart of sustainability. So throughout this presentation, I use ozone cleaning, green cleaning to mean generally things that are better for the environment, better for human health. But really, I think ozone cleaning is kind of so far above and beyond where we need to go as a community, as a world. Into the future in terms of sustainability, that I almost even hate lumping it with like other, what is termed green cleaners on the market. And I just threw up here, this is like the Wikipedia definition of green cleaning because I thought it was pretty comprehensive just for those that need that definition. But this is kind of where I see all of these different things on the market falling. And so why do I feel so strongly about ozone cleaning is kind of next, and what is ozone cleaning? So basically, we have the scientific definition up here. It's basically you use electricity to add an extra oxygen molecule to O2, creating O3, and you infuse it in water. And so in simple terms, we are electrifying water. We are using a machine on site to create a solution on site for cleaning by electrifying it. Kind of an example picture of that is on the lower right. So why do I feel like this is so great? So what's great about creating your own solution, or electrified water, or some people call engineered water, is all of these amazing benefits it provides. So once you electrify the water, over time, it actually just converts back to water. So what's better than that, right, for the environment? You're using water, you're using electricity, and then it goes back to water and oxygen in the end. So there's really no, harmful byproduct from that. And then the other killer benefit is that it is just as powerful as traditional cleaning chemicals on the market. So it kills mold, mildew, odor, stains, bacteria, viruses. Its kill time is amazing. It's like less than a minute. We have other products that we use in-house, or have used before, that have like a 10 to 15-minute kill time. This is more powerful and faster acting than bleach. I know I got a lot of bullets on here, but they're all really valid and important. Another one is, I mentioned our zero waste goal. And by converting to ozone cleaning, we've really reduced plastic pollution. Think about all of the, by creating this on site, we are not buying all of those products anymore. We're not disposing all those products anymore, which is a lot of plastic. And more so, the company that we work with actually takes back the machines and the filters and refurbishes and uses them again. So really, it's a great partnership for our zero waste goal. Obviously, it's really great for human health. There actually is no PPE required, and what PPE stands for is personal protective equipment. We actually still ask our custodians to wear gloves and eye protective equipment, but it's awesome because we don't have to worry about them harming themselves by using it. If it touches their skin or gets in their eye, there really is no harmful side effect, but we still ask them to wear it regardless. There's no smell to it, and I put that in quotes because if you compare the smell of it to any other cleaner on the market, a normal person would say there's no smell. But once you use it for a while, you can kind of see like a very faint smell. So I don't want to say there's no smell, but really when you compare it to everything else out there, there is no smell. And then the other beautiful thing is that it's completely multi-purpose. You can use it on everything from toilets to mirrors to glass to toilets to showers to carpet. It can even be a laundry detergent. It's pretty crazy. So one of the great things it did was it completely reduced our training needs and risks around using chemicals with our custodians. So the picture you see here on the left is our traditional cleaning cart. And at the time I started this over 5 years ago, we found in our inventory, we had well over 30 different types of chemical solutions that people were using. This looks like a very typical cart. You see probably like 16 different things, you know, one thing for windows, one thing for toilets, one thing for glass, one thing for, you know, everything. And you can imagine what it was like inventorying these, keeping track of these, all of the hazardous waste disposal surrounding these. So when we adopted ozone cleaning, we basically went down to two solutions, and that's all people needed to remember and know about. So on the right here, you see we have one solution, which is a multi-purpose for everything that I mentioned that it can do. And then on the right, the blue is a degreaser. So the only thing that this ozone cleaning solution doesn't do is degrease. And so we have to have a solution for that. And just to make sure everybody knows what I mean by that, for us, the main place that we're degreasing is in showers. So we have community showers where, you know, dozens and dozens of students will take showers in a given restroom in any given day, and they're using tons of products, right? Shampoos, conditioners, body washes, and all of that leaves basically great grease residue in these showers. So the main thing that we're degreasing on a weekly basis is our showers. The main ozone solution is not going to degrease for you, or like on a very greasy kitchen countertop or something like that. So that's why we went from nearly over 30 to 2. So now that everyone has a little bit of background on what ozone cleaning is and the very high level what it can do for you, really it's, you know, how did we get started? So back in 2014, I have to credit this beautiful, wonderful student down here in the picture on the right. Her name's Taylor Streety. She was a senior at Stanford, very bright, and she was also a member of the student organization Students for Sustainable Stanford on campus, who was trying to promote sustainable operations on campus. And for years, my organization had been trying to move to green cleaning, and we had a lot of traditional chemical companies come in and try to sell us on new products that they were developing, and they were calling green cleaning products. Other vendors coming in saying they had green cleaning products, and we had tried out a whole host of things. All of them failed miserably. We were about at the point to just kind of give up on it, and then Taylor came to us and said she had done all this research on ozone cleaning, and she wanted us to look into it. And the more we looked into it, we said, okay, this is totally different than anything we've ever tried. Let's give it a pilot and see how it goes. So my management invested in it, and we had a great partnership. I mean, you can see in this picture, we have our custodian who actually had chemical sensitivities, was one of our first custodians to try it. Our health and safety manager was involved, the building manager was involved, my senior management was involved, and then we had students involved in this pilot. And we chose to pilot it at a sorority house of all of our 319 buildings, the Delta 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 sorority house, mainly because Taylor was living at the house at the time, and we knew we could have a great partner in terms of student communication, so it was kind of a safe place. But the other great thing about Tri-Delta was that it's in a place where there are 5 other sororities that are just like it. And by just like it, I mean, as the exact same number of students, the building is exactly the same. The surfaces that custodians would be working on are exactly the same. So we had set up this perfect like experiment where Lourdes, our custodian here, was cleaning with the ozone solution and Delta 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 and traditional cleaning chemicals in pi beta phi right next door. So we had this great base case and experimental case. So what were the results? So this was in 2015. So we did, we're at an academic institution, so we took a very research-based approach. We did pre and post occupant surveys that revealed, so before we installed it, after we installed it, we had the students surveyed, saying how confident they felt that their space was being cleaned and how happy they were with it, because of course we wanted our occupants to be comfortable. And basically what the results of the occupant surveys showed was that students felt it was just as clean as it was with the old chemicals, and that's great, right? As long as they feel like it's clean, that's all we needed to know. And we had really high response rates. Almost the entire house were responding to these surveys thanks to Taylor. We also had a lot of feedback from the custodian. We did frequently met with her to see how things were going, how it was like using the system with other um, on different types of surfaces and different scenarios, and then how it was, using it there compared to pi beta phi. And then the most kind of telling thing for us is we also did bacteria testing. You can see on the lower right here, this is an ATP meter, and I did a ton of bacteria testing. So I would test with Lourdes right before she cleaned, and right after she cleaned at both tri-delta and pi beta phi, so I could compare the results. And what I found basically was that whether she was using the ozone cleaning system or whether she was using the traditional cleaning system, right after she cleaned, the bacteria levels would be the exact same, or like definitely right around each other, which was at a good level. So both traditional cleaning and ozone cleaning were getting to like the same, good, quote unquote, good level of cleanliness. But what we found was, I also mentioned we tested right before she would clean. And what we noticed, what was cool about the ozone cleaning, was that the bacteria levels were always lower before she cleaned in tri-delta compared to pi beta phi. And what that told us was that the traditional cleaning chemicals was leaving a residue, and it was actually attracting, while they both got the houses to the same acceptable clean level after being cleaned, the traditional chemicals were leaving a residue and actually attracting more bacteria over time. So when we tested again the next day before she cleaned again, the ozone cleaning was actually attracting less bacteria, which was a really neat and cool finding that came out of this. So after we finished this pilot, my management was very pleased with the results. And so we ended up going out kind of with a RFP process where we invited several different companies that claimed to have ozone systems or had ozone systems to campus. And we ended up selecting one, which is the one we also ended up using at tri-delta, which is called Tersano. And the next question for my management, as we looked at expanding it after we had selected a vendor, was, okay, they said, okay, Kristen, you've showed me it's good for the environment. You showed me students feel their spaces are clean. The people side, custodians liked it, the students liked it, so that's the people side. It's great for the environment. So what about the triple bottom line, the profit or the economics of it? So we looked at chemical purchases across our entire 319 building system, and we looked at the payback period of investing and shifting over to this new system. And we found that the payback period for all of our buildings, they ranged because different buildings were cleaning differently with different amounts of chemicals. So depending on the building, the payback period ranged between 2.5 and 5.5 years. And basically here, anything with a payback period less than 5 years that kind of hits that triple bottom line is a go. It's a shoe-in. So my management was super happy about this. But I want to say, because I know it's very important to people thinking about this and the economics and finance of it, is the payback period that we calculated included chemical savings alone. So we were just looking at what we were going to save by not purchasing, all those 30 other chemicals that I showed you. We did not include any employee health benefits from not being exposed to chemicals any longer, or injury claims associated with chemical related or cleaning related injuries. We didn't incorporate any kind of environmental savings. We didn't incorporate the cost of receiving and distributing chemicals. We did a report later that found that we spend almost $2,000 a month kind of receiving, ordering, and distributing chemicals that would no longer need to happen. So that wasn't included in the payback period. And then things that we also didn't include but could have included was any infrastructure upgrades needed to support the system. So you're generating this electrified water on site. So what do you think you need? You need water and you need energy. So we actually had some custodial closets that didn't have outlets. Buildings that were built in the 40s, 50s. We have buildings built 100 years ago and this year. And so many of our buildings didn't have electrical outlets in the custodial closets. Some of them didn't have sinks. So in this payback period, we didn't include any infrastructure upgrade that was needed via outlets or sinks to support the new machines. And then lastly, something for you all to consider is convenience. So Like I said, this machine is something, you're producing your own cleaning solution now, and one machine can produce a lot, right? And so there's multiple ways you can set this up. I've talked to others that are using this system, and you can have a 12-story building and only have one machine, but then your custodians are all going to one machine, every day to get that, and then they have to bring it to the various floors to clean, or to other buildings to clean. Or you can put like one on every floor in a 12-story building. So our strategy, and obviously based on, where you place these machines and how you move chemicals, varies your payback period. And my management's philosophy was that in order for custodians to really buy into this, it needed to be just as convenient as their traditional chemicals were. So any place in our system where a custodian would go to get traditional chemicals, we had to have a Tersano machine where they could equally, get access to that solution. So that affected our payback period, because we basically have custodial closets with chemicals on every floor of every building. So where, one organization strategy might be one per 3-floor building, we have 3, one on every single floor. So that's something to think about. So where are we at today? So I mentioned we did that original pilot, one sorority house, that went well. And so it's been almost 5 years. We are now in 70 buildings, which impacts 3 million square feet in our portfolio. We have 8,800 students and staff that are residing in these buildings and benefiting from this new type of cleaning system. We have over 85 full-time custodians that are trained in using it on a daily basis, and then dozens and dozens more of like temporary and casual workers. And we've calculated we're saving a little over 4,000 gallons of chemicals from being purchased and disposed of annually by converting to this. And I actually just hired a student intern who's looking at plastic pollution and how much plastic we've reduced from going from the landfill from this decision to support our zero waste goals and targets. So as I mentioned, things are going well and it's very safe. And so our next step was to think about, can we offer this to students? It's so safe. I mean, you think about traditional chemicals on the market and you think there's no way I would give that to a student. There's just too much liability and them not reading the directions, not using it correctly, etc. But this is so safe that really there's no problem providing it to students for them to use. 50% of the buildings that I mentioned, custodians only clean common spaces. So they're apartments where students are actually responsible for cleaning the apartments themselves. And so obviously we do a lot of things to encourage them to clean their apartments, because at the end of the year when they leave, if they haven't cleaned for an entire year, you can imagine how challenging it is to clean an apartment or a bathroom that has literally not been cleaned for a year. So not only was this obviously a great, solution for students to consider using, but it was also great for us operationally, because by being able to provide students a cleaning solution, it's encouraging them to actually clean and make our jobs easier and take care of our facilities better. So we first piloted offering it to students in a building called Mirrlees. It's a 289 student apartment complex. And the student you see on the left here, his name is Arjun, and he was our intern champion. He also lived in the building, and he did, again, pre and post surveys. And we surveyed all of these students that lived in Mirrlees, and we asked them about their chemical, cleaning behaviors. So how often do you clean? When do you typically clean? We asked them where they got their cleaning products. Most of them said Safeway, Target, Trader Joe's. We asked them what type of cleaning products they use. You're probably not surprised, but students love disposables. So they used a lot of the disinfecting wipes, that you can buy. A lot of them had Swiffers with Swiffer pad situations. A lot of that, and we asked them how much they spent on cleaning chemicals annually, and we added it all up. Just this one building with these almost 300 students spend about $10,000 of their student money annually just buying cleaning or chemical related products. So if they all decided to use this machine, then the building would save basically $10,000 in student money, which is obviously students are trying to conserve their money at this time. So we installed it in the laundry room. So all of the students in that building have a single laundry room. So we installed it in the laundry room. So it's a common space where they all go. And the great thing about the laundry room is it can also be used as a laundry detergent. So while they're in there, they can fill up a cup and use it as a laundry detergent. And so on the right here, you see Arjun, who's giving a training to students that live in this building about how to use the machine and the benefits of it, and why they should consider using it to clean their apartments. And he also doubled that our operations loved. He did a training on how to clean. You'd be surprised at how many students come to campus and they have no exposure to how to clean a toilet themselves or how to clean a shower themselves. So he also met with some custodians and they gave them some tips, and then he shared the tips with the students on good cleaning, how frequently they should clean and how they should clean and to use this to clean essentially, and how the machine works. And then this is just a student dispensing from the machine and some signage that we have. So even if they don't come to the training, they see the signage and are able to interact and know what it is and dispense it themselves. This is some signage, another pilot we did in a non-apartment complex. So this is your traditional dorm where you have lots of students, in rooms with shared bathrooms. And we had a really active building manager who loved it, and their custodians loved it. And they said, we want to give it to our students. And so they left these bottles. It says, hey, Wilbur, here's some free cleaning solution for you. And they leave it in the bathrooms. And I love it because, students, you're living in a tiny room with another student. If your roommate gets sick, I mean, it's brilliant. Go grab a bottle and disinfect and sanitize, your knobs, your room quickly. It's a quick way for them to, grab something, when custodians aren't around, where they can easily clean their rooms and also common area spaces while, custodians may not necessarily be in the building. So we also tried this out as well. Coming this year, which I'm very excited about, these buildings that you see just came out of the ground, and we're opening 4 12-story apartment high-rises on campus that is going to house 2,400 grad students. And we're at the point now where, we're fully implementing this. So every single floor of these 12-story buildings have these machines in the laundry rooms for students to dispense their cleaning solution and also their laundry detergent to keep these buildings clean. We actually have 3 machines going in on every floor on all 12 floors, 2 custodial accessed and then 1 student accessed. So we're opening these buildings next summer, and then all of these students will be able to benefit. And also the surrounding grad students will also be able to enter the ground floors, and if they want access, they technically could as well. So next is, it wasn't all that easy, right? I mean, I'm painting this picture of success, but it's been 5 years of creating a new culture of cleaning. We have a great custodial staff here, and the average, they've been here a long time. Most of our custodians have been with us for 15 plus years. And you can imagine how hard it is for them to completely reimagine what it's like to clean and the solutions that they're going to be cleaning with. And I use this emoji because it really is mind-blowing. When you go to a custodian who's been using, X chemicals for 30 years and you tell them they're going to clean with water, miraculous water, it is mind-blowing. It's very hard to wrap your mind around that. So how did we create this culture where people are using it and believing it, and we got to this place where we could expand it? So the most powerful way, of course, is with data. Proving that it works, and most importantly, proving that it works over and over and over again. So I mentioned when we did that pilot that we use these ATP meters to test bacteria. So after that pilot, every year we've gradually, I said we're in 70 buildings now, but every year for the last 5 years, we've, expanded to more and more buildings every year. And so every time, the first 3 years, every time I expanded to new buildings, I did bacteria ATP meter testing. And I will tell you that every time I did it, I got the exact same results. And I knew, but by the time I hit my 40th building, I had exactly, what I was going to find in my assessment. But it was really important for the custodians to see me doing it and see the results themselves in their spaces, on their surfaces, with, their type of cleaning. Um, while I knew what I was going to find, proving it worked, with science, with data in front of them, over and over again, was really important. I think this year was the first year where I didn't feel, the group didn't ask me for it, and I didn't feel the need where I needed to do it, and we were, good to go. And ATP meters are actually relatively cheap. I mean, they're like a couple $100s, and I can't tell you how much it aided kind of the success and buy-in from people. Just, the getting back to the mind blowingness, the solution, doesn't bubble, it doesn't smell, it doesn't have a color to it. So it doesn't have any of those traditional characteristics of a traditional cleaning product. So it's one of the things that it's hard to know if it's working, right? And when you take out the bacteria meter, you can see very quickly that it's working and then get buy-in quickly to move forward. So we use this. I also used a ORP meter, which basically tests ozone, because obviously very important to our custodians is that it kills bacteria and viruses, and that's where the ozone comes into play. And so the ozone has to be at a certain level for it to do that. So once again, we got another gadget that ensures that the ozone is at the level needed to kill, and proved that that worked over and over and over again, even though I knew what the results were likely to be, but them seeing it was really important for themselves. The other cool thing that helped with creating a new cleaning culture was and investing in new equipment for the custodians. I mean, obviously, they get excited when they are treated, special or given. We all do. We get a new computer or we get a new phone or whatever it is. It kind of brightens our day and our work experience. And every time that we've rolled out this green cleaning system, the custodians not only get the new cleaning system, they also get a whole new suite of equipment and materials to use. So at the same time we roll this in, we also transition to microfiber. I won't go into that, but you can kind of Google benefits of microfiber if you're not using microfiber. So we historically just use, white cotton towels. And so when they get these new machines, they also get all new, beautifully colored microfiber so that they can use the color coding to clean properly in the different spaces. Lots of benefits to that. They get new mop buckets, they get new spray bottles. You can't use this solution in mop buckets and bottles that had other chemical residue in it. So it's just a good opportunity to kind of reset them. And this is kind of a nice benefit for them as they get the new machines to have all of these other new items. We also have a ozone cleaner user group that meets, in the beginning we were meeting very frequently, and now I would say it's like once or twice a year. All the custodians that are now in this ozone cleaning user group get together. We talk about how things are going, what's working on where, what's surfaces, what concerns they've had. Like at a very high level, what I've gotten out of these user groups is constantly they love it on stainless steel, like your knobs, door knobs, sink faucets, toilet, flushing handles, mirrors. They say it works like no other product on, shining those and polishing those, and they get obviously satisfaction from seeing that shine. And then of course I hear about the no smell a lot and the relief of like not having to smell chemicals. But it's not always peachy. So on the negative side, I've used these meetings to clear up confusion. So there are, tricks and rules that come along with this. And one of it is it only kills viruses and bacteria for up to 24 hours. So, and then it starts degrading and going back to water. So, they'll tell me, something's not working, and I'll say, well, when's the last time you filled up your bottle? And it will have been 4 days ago, right? And so I use these meetings to, they'll tell me things aren't working, and then I have to kind of reiterate how the system works. Like the kill is only 24 hours. And we really got into this train of you need to fill up a bottle every day because it it's only effective for 24 hours. Also, they were using, I showed you what the degreaser looked like, which is that nice blue solution, which looks more like a traditional chemical. And so they saw it was blue and they thought it was more powerful than the other one. And so while it really only degreases, I had custodial teams that were using it for everything because they just thought it looked more powerful and more, useful. And so I'd have to clear up, what the degreaser is for and what the other one is for. I'm obviously, as the years go by, I'm doing less and less of that, but these groups were great for clearing up confusion. And then the other one I want to mention that frequently comes up is whitening. This solution does not whiten, and custodians or our custodians get an immediate satisfaction from seeing something that's sparkly white. And this is not going to do that. So you have mold or mildew or a coffee stain in a sink, you pour bleach on it, it magically goes away. It whitens and brightens and you don't see that anymore. And this solution does not have a whitening effect. And so the custodians weren't feeling, they take great pride in their work. And when they were leaving spaces, they just weren't feeling, when it wasn't, and certain things weren't sparkling white, they weren't feeling good about their work. And so I had to figure out how I was going to kind of combat that. So I figured the only person that could really do that and make them feel comfortable was our director. So the director of student housing, who made the goal and invested in this, actually came and met with the custodians and said, we have a new policy. It's okay, it's not white. It does not mean it's not clean. And once again, we took out the bacteria test, tester and showed them that just because it wasn't sparkly white didn't mean that it wasn't clean, and that their health was more important to us than seeing something being sparkly white. And so much so that we actually changed our grout standard. So our old grout standard used to be white, and now it's like a off-white beige color in response to us adopting this, because we didn't want custodians to feel that pressure of having it sparkly white. We wanted them using this. We wanted it, it's good for their health. We know it's just as clean. And so we went as far as we're actually changing our standards to things that, one, don't stain or hold stains quite as easily, where you need that, immediate white satisfaction. So standards are being changed, and having that management coming and telling them that really helps set it at ease, that to not feel that pressure. So the other things we've done to create a culture of change is partnering with academics, departments, and even more partnerships with students. We have a student internship program where we hire over 20 students a year. Many of them work on our grain cleaning program, doing custodial closet surveys, interviews with custodians, helping us train students on how to use the systems where we offer it. One I'm going to particularly mention, which is amazing. We partnered with the Stanford Design School to do a study on adoption of the system amongst custodians. This was very early on in the first 2 years, and then student awareness of the system. And for those of you who that could benefit from this, you can just Google design thinking Stanford, and you'll get all these videos that talk about design thinking. But we really use this methodology, not just in green cleaning, but in all of the projects that we do. It's really great at kind of assessing and improving processes and services and products. So we had a team of students, and this is them presenting here in this picture, their findings. And I wanted to find out, like, what were barriers to custodians accepting this in the first 2 years or 3 years we were rolling this out. And so they went in and observed custodians cleaning. They interviewed custodians. They interviewed students, and none of these people knew that it was for the purposes of understanding behavior change and adoption of this new cleaning system. They thought that these students were just interested in custodians and custodial cleaning in general. So the custodians were very upfront with them. They were very friendly, and we learned amazing things, which I'm going to cover. So the first amazing thing that I learned was that when I was training new custodians that were getting the system, I was always saying it's just water. And I was saying it's just water because I wanted the custodians to really embrace the environmental and health benefits from it. And by saying it's just water, I was trying to like convince them or get them on board with the environmental and health benefits from it. And what we heard from the design school study was that when I said it's just water, they heard it doesn't work. It's just water. How could it possibly work? It doesn't work. And I had no idea that I was doing that, and I had no idea that how that message that I was giving them, how that was being received. But in tons of interviews they had with custodians that were using it, they would all say exactly what I said. It's just water, so it doesn't work. It's not a cleaning solution. And so um, after the study, I had to completely reframe, excuse me, how I communicated the initiative and the trainings, especially to new custodians, that it's a powerful cleaning solution. It's not just water, right? But it is just water. But I didn't realize I was doing that. So that was an interesting finding that I had to redo our communications for. Another interesting finding was I'm going to show you some of the communication pieces that we've used for this program. We inspired them from one of Stanford's mascots, the tree, which you see on here, which changes design every year, but it's always this funky tree. And so these are the kind of the old communication pieces that we would put out. So this is what we put in custodial closets. It says new to Stanford, healthy cleaning is our standard. We only use 2 things. And this was mostly designed because we have so many temps and casual employees that come in to our buildings, especially during the summer, that we wanted a quick way to tell them what we were doing, where I may not have time to train everybody. We wanted this right in front of them in their closets. So this little tree guy, representing our tree, was kind of branded on all of our communication pieces. This is the early one we put out to students. You see the little tree guy again. On the right, we designed bottle labels, the tree guy. And what was interesting is, once again, these design students looked at our communication materials. They interviewed students that were looking at them. And another fascinating finding came out of this. They said that a barrier that came out in the interviews was that my branding with my tree guy didn't look like other cleaning chemicals on the market. And they would believe in it more if it looked more like other things that they would see, like Tide, or Windex or whatever. So I went back to my communications department and we rebranded it to Cardinal Clean. And it looks like this. A little more, I think what you would see, the idea was to make it look like they said, like something, a cleaning product more that you would see on the market. So the bottom right here is the new bottle label. So you see the old one, it's a little blurry, but it's got the tree pictures on it. The new one's got the Cardinal Clean label with kind of a branding that looks more like other traditional chemicals on the market. The great reminder, it only lasts up for after 24 hours on there. And then this is just an example of how the left is how we used to tell students about it. So since it doesn't smell, all students aren't aware of, how their buildings are clean. We put these signs up in the bathroom telling students that this is what their custodians are doing and to be excited and happy with the way their facilities are being ran. So the old one is on the left. It says green cleaning has come to your residence. And then the new one with the new branding with it looks more like other things that they would see, much more visually stimulated, more graphics. Our new one is on the right. Did you know your custodians are using engineered water, ozone to clean? And it tells them what it is and the benefits of it. These are the new posters. So this was the old one that we put into custodial closets with the tree. These are the new ones with the new Cardinal Clean brand, but again, kind of saying the same type of information, mostly targeted at people who aren't typically in our closets using the system. So I'm wrapping up here. My last way of creating change is obviously to recognize champions. In the early days, we gave out awards. We had students that would go into all of the custodial closets and make sure other kind of chemicals didn't creep their way back in. And if custodian closets got clear reports, they would get, custodians in that area would get dining hall lunches, and that's a great treat or incentive for them. We have amazing dining halls on our campus with healthy, organic, fresh foods. And so giving them free lunches or free dinners at the dining halls for having, clean closet records was a hit. And then lastly, letting them lead. So one of my proudest moments in this program is this picture on the left. So the first 2 to 3 years that we were rolling this out, I was the face of the program. I was the one doing all the training. This is how you use the machine. This is how you clean with it. This is, I was the leader and the face of it. And I, probably about 2 years ago now, I invited Everardo, who you see kind of pictured in the back in front of the machine, to come help me train the next set of custodians getting it. And he completely took off. He just took off with the training all by himself. And he was telling them, all of the benefits about it and how the machine works and what they need to do and how it's changed and transformed the way he cleans. And I had like goosebumps going up my arms because, here, that you've succeeded in culture change when, you're no longer needed. And I had, custodians up there, being the ones that were leading the change for me. And it was just this beautiful, wonderful moment. And, it used to be the first 2 years that I would hear from other buildings, I hope I'm on the end of the list, and the ozone solution never comes to me. And now all I hear is, why am I not next? Why aren't we getting it this year? When do we get it? How can you move me up? Like, I want it. So that's when you really know that you've hit it, and we've made movement. So that is the end. I want to say that I'm here to, hopefully you guys all know this reference. Help me help you. I am here to support you. I think this is kind of the future for zero waste, for creating a sustainable future for our bodies, for the planet, and for the finances of our companies. And I would love to support you in any way that I can, and kind of looking at these types of systems. My email is here on the bottom, and I am happy to take questions.
Thank you so much, Christine. We do have a long list of questions, so I will encourage everyone to submit your questions, and we'll try to go through as many as we can in the 30 minutes left in this webinar. Let me turn on my webcam here. So, are you advertising this to students prior to moving?
So far we haven't. It's in their bathrooms, the sign that I showed you when they move in. However, I showcased the 2,400 student 12-story high rises that are opening this summer, and we are advertising it to students moving in those buildings as an amenity of moving into those buildings is having it. So all those students moving in are hearing about it before they move in, but the other students are hearing about it when they arrive and getting trained on it when they arrive.
Thank you. So getting custodians to buy into change can be very difficult. Can you describe your initial process? I guess you mentioned this a little bit after this question was asked, that you used to in order to get the custodial buy-in to changing to a chemical that has no odor.
Yeah, I think I probably covered that in the culture change section, the different things that we did, but it wasn't easy. I mean, it's, I think the biggest missing factor, I mean, they definitely was the smell, but it's also the bubbling. We have a lot of scrubbing bubble fans in our custodial group, and that's got a great bubbling action thing that happens that makes you feel like something's happening and interacting. And with ozone, you really don't see that interaction happening. So once again, that's where the ATP meter, the ozone meter, those things were really helpful because you can't see it. So you got to have some way of showing it.
Thank you. All right, so there's a couple of questions on the disinfecting power of this solution. If it disinfects bacteria, why does it not replace disinfectants? And what chemical do you use to disinfect surfaces?
Yeah, we actually use this. This is our disinfectant, this is our sanitizer. But like I said, it's really important because it only does that within a 24-hour period. And so on the bottle label I showed you, it's very big that says, we have this practice that says fill up a fresh bottle every single day. That's just, so you don't have to worry about the 24-hour thing or when did I fill it up. Just get a fresh bottle every day because it will disinfect and sanitize within that, initial 24-hour period. However, I would say so our custodial team does not clean on Sundays and occasionally some Saturdays. And if we have fear of some kind of outbreak or something occurring, they will put a different aerosol sanitizer in the bathroom so that when we know we don't have good custodial cleaning coverage, and it's not available in like a laundry room for student dispense, the student has an option to sanitize or disinfect when we are not there. But the sad thing is our standard for that has a kill time of like almost 10 minutes. So like it has to sit there for 10 minutes before it kills, even the one that we provide for students to use when we're not cleaning, as opposed to this, which is like pretty quickly.
Thank you. So there were a couple of really specific questions. Would this be effective for cleaning staff? There was a high school that had to wipe down lockers when they had an outbreak. Also, with that question, what about cleaning bodily fluids? And
Yeah.
yep.
So I believe staff is covered. I mean, I know E. coli, norovirus, all of those are. Our athletics department actually recently asked about that. So I don't want to like give a complete affirmative on that. I believe so, but I think it's something that you should look into on your own. And then in terms of bodily fluids, Stanford actually has a policy and a protocol and a kit for dealing with bodily fluids. And so we defer to that for bodily fluid cleanup. Obviously, pee around urines and pee on the floor, we don't, but other bodily fluid situations have to go to the mandatory kit procedure that is outside of this process.
Yeah, there were a couple of questions on cleaning blood and also if it can be safely used in hospitals.
Yes, there are hospitals that are using it, and I've actually talked to the Stanford Hospital about using it here on campus. So yes.
All right. How many gallons of solution does a cartridge produce, and what is the approximate cost per cartridge?
Um, so um, the the amount of cartridges, so the only thing that you have to replace or buy in the system is a filter that filters the water before it goes in the unit. And so the amount of filters you go through depends on how much solution you use, right? So I mentioned in our model, it depends on how convenient you make it. So if you have one machine that's supplying like, 4 12-story buildings, you're going to go through filters in that machine a lot quicker. So I would say in our model, we have, probably one machine per 80 to 100 students. We're going through filters about once a year. Every 8 to 12 months, we go through a filter on it. So it's not like something you're changing daily, weekly, or even monthly. It's like a once to, maximum twice a year type of initiative. In terms of cost, the filters are way cheaper than the chemicals that we purchase. I mean, they're in like the $100 to $300 range.
And how did moving to the system as well as sharing it with students impact your water bill?
That is a great question. So I talked about all of the environmental benefits of, not putting toxins down the drain, the pollution, plastic pollution, all of that stuff. But you're right, you're using electricity and water. And so I was kind of curious to see what the impact was. And so I had another intern that looked at, we have, our metering only goes down to the building level. So, I don't have metering beyond that, but looking at all of the buildings where we're using the ozone cleaning solution compared to the buildings we aren't, we can't see any electrical or water increase from using the system. And especially because when you look at the overall water usage of our buildings, I mean, it's so intensive on showering and laundry and that it's like negligible to even see how much is being used by this. And also, we've done so many energy efficiency initiatives that our electricity consumption has gone down so much in the last 3 years that I can't see like a blimp from this plug, the plug loads from these. So I don't have an exact number for you, but for us, it's not significant enough to even register um, in our billing.
Okay. Does re-wetting the mop affect the performance of the cleaning solution? So if if it loses its sanitizing capability when contaminated with dirt?
No, it doesn't lose its capability when it contacts other things if it's within the first 24 hours. So the solution comes out already, diluted or whatever. So if you're filling a mop bucket, you're not adding any other water to it. You fill up the mop bucket with a solution and then you're putting your mop in there and you're not adding any other water to the situation other than if you want to like wash it down afterwards. I hope
Okay.
that answers that question.
And um, so I think you mentioned cleaning the showers, but this was about deep cleaning after students have lived the whole year. Would this work for a deep clean situation?
Yeah, we've done some pilots or tests on like major turns, like where somebody's been in the apartment for the whole year, and it's actually holding up pretty well, especially in the apartment I mentioned where we actually offer it. Definitely, they have to let it sit for a while, but to be honest, we had to when we were using other chemicals, we had to let it sit for a while, and then they would come back to and clean it. So I wouldn't say it's been any different than deep cleaning. The one thing I didn't mention is, so I mentioned we have that in a degreaser. When ovens, so like in student apartments, if ovens are in a very nasty place, we have sometimes had to bring an oven cleaner specific for that purpose. So I think in my advertisement for this, I said we have three. We went down from 30 to 3, and my third is an oven cleaner when we have a whole year of no one cleaning an oven and it's in a bad place. It's not going to like get out what you could imagine is burnt in there.
Yeah, there was actually a question on greasy areas. Does it remove fingerprints which are oily, or this is something where the degreaser would need to be used first? And also, what about dining floors and kitchen greasy areas?
Yeah, you would use the degreaser. So our practice is, in those spaces in the showers where I talked about the greasiness, they use the degreaser first and they clean off with the degreaser and then they go back over it with the ozone solution to prevent the mold, mildew, sanitize, disinfect after they've degreased it. So it's kind of a dual process. You're degreasing and then you're preventing mold, mildew, and doing the sanitation. Yeah.
What about descaling hard water deposits?
Like preventing and yeah, we haven't had any issues with that. Yeah.
Okay, and did you use this to replace laundry detergent?
Yes, so it can be used as a laundry detergent. Our custodians use it as a laundry detergent when they're cleaning their mop heads and their rags, and students use it as a laundry detergent. But again, as I cautioned before, there is like no magical whitening function in it, right? So you have to be willing to accept that. So just as an example, in my home, I use green cleaning detergent, and it never gets the things as white or the stain out perfectly like a traditional detergent, but I accept that because it's my family and I want to do better things for the environment and for our health. So the detergent, it's great for a detergent, it cleans, but if you have we cook a lot with turmeric. You got a turmeric stain in there, it's not going to be bright white after you stain something with turmeric, right? So and you have to accept that to some extent. I don't know how to say that. Yeah.
Um, what about using gloves? The custodians need to use gloves?
They don't have to. I mean, if you look at the safety rating, the MSDS for it, you don't have to, but we still ask them to. So they still wear gloves. They still actually wear their eyeglasses when they're using it, but it's technically not required, but we ask our custodians to, and they do as just extra precaution, because that's what we've always done.
Right. So we have 1 minute left, but we have a couple more questions. So let's just go through them quickly. So did you consider hypochlorous acid or sodium hydroxide systems? And if you did, why did you go with the aqueous ozone?
We did not. I'm sorry. I don't have a comparison point for you.
Why did you choose this company, the Tersano? Was it cost or?
We brought in, like I said, we brought in a variety of vendors, and obviously we had different criteria for environmental, for health, for cost, for service, for all of these reasons, and ended up selecting.
And can you share the cost or the ballpark of one system to be installed into an existing custodial closet, like the parts, the system, the labor for hooking it up?
I think that would be a good follow-up question if somebody wants to contact me directly. I need to look at all of our, it varies widely depending what I was walking into in terms of the custodial closet situation. So, and then, how big of a space I was trying to service. So I'd rather not provide one figure, but if they want to contact me directly, we can kind of get to the specifics of what they would be doing, and I can share that.
Thank you so much, Christine. And we're at time with the webinar. So if there's additional questions, you can email Christine directly or contact us at education@AASHE.org. I want to thank Christine for sharing your expertise with us today. Definitely, this was a very interesting topic to our attendees. Before we conclude today's webinar, I'd like to let everyone know that this was actually the last webinar of the year for AASHE, but we will be rolling a new schedule starting the second half of January. And you can learn more about these webinars and our other professional development offerings on our website or by subscribing to AASHE's newsletters. So I mentioned at the beginning that the recording and presentational materials will be available in the AASHE Campus Sustainability tomorrow. And I received approval to have it open for non-AASHE members as well. So you'll receive a email notification probably tomorrow around this time with the link to the recording and Christine's presentation. So thanks again, Christine, and everyone for attending today. Have a good day.
Thanks.